Your personal brand isn't just a logo, a tagline, or a clever marketing hook. It's who you are at your core. It's how you think, it's how you make decisions, and it's how you show up in the world, both personally and professionally. And building a brand isn't just about a strategy, it's about alignment. And that requires something much deeper: self-awareness, resilience, and the willingness to grow and evolve. Now, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a guru, but I am a builder. I've built 2 very successful businesses, worked through failure, I faced my own demons, and I'm still in the process. I'm still refining, I'm still evolving. So each week on the Branding Lab, I'm going to break down the lessons, the insights, and raw truths that shape not just great businesses, but great leaders. In this roughly 10 to 15 minute monologue, I'm going to share the stories and the insights of my own experience and the deep conversations with CEOs, founders, and thought leaders from all over the world. We're going to uncover the patterns, the decisions, and the shifts that separate those who grow from those who stay stuck. Because here's the honest truth: if you're not evolving, neither is your brand. So let's get into it.
So I'm at this networking event the other day, and actually it's a couple weeks ago, and I'm sitting there listening to this guy who's kind of leading the session, and he's talking about branding, and somebody in the audience asks him a pretty straightforward question, and it's centered around how do you craft this compelling 30-second elevator pitch. And the speaker, he kind of fumbles around for a second, and he says, before I answer that, I need to sort of check with my chat GPT. I'm just like, bro, wait, what did you just say? You're standing in front of a room full of entrepreneurs, telling them how to communicate their brand, and your first instinct is to outsource your own expertise to AI. I mean, look, I get it. AI is an amazing tool. I use it. But what struck me wasn't the fact that he was telling these entrepreneurs to rely on ChatGPT. It was the fact that he didn't trust himself to clearly articulate what he supposedly knew secondhand. And then I caught myself. I was judging him, because that's what we do, right? We make these instant assumptions based upon what we think we know about a situation. Now, right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't agree with his comment, but that's not the point of what I'm trying to share with you. I made a very rash judgment in the moment, not fully armed with enough information to accurately assess what was going through his mind when he made that response. And it was in this moment that it made me realize something really impactful. I do this all the time. We all do. We see something, and within a matter of seconds, we've already decided what it means to us, who's right, who's wrong, who's lazy, who's an expert, who's full of shit. And I used to have this thought about myself, like, I'm really perceptive and I'm really good at reading people. And I am, but a lot of times that's not perception. That's me making a projection, a judgment. And every single judgment that we make is based upon our own past experiences, our own trauma, our learned behaviors, and how we personally navigate the world. And speaking from experience, I'm a single dad. I have been for almost 15 years now. And I've raised my daughter to be very mindful, very present, very self-aware. And this girl's done more reading and journaling by the age 18 than I did by the age of 35. And yet, when she was younger, if she wasn't necessarily responding the way that I thought she should, I get really frustrated. And I think, dude, why is she not processing this the way that I would? Why can't she think as quickly as I can? And then, again, same situation. It hit me. She's not me. Everyone else that you're judging is not you. They're experiencing the world through their lens, not yours, not mine. And the same thing has happened with my partner in the last couple of years and her children. And I'd be around them and I'd observe or see them acting away or whatever it was. And my first reaction was, dude, I would never let my kid act like that, or I would never let my kid do that way. Like, what is wrong with these children? But through my own personal trauma and self-realizations, I was forced to step back and realize that I don't know about their experience. I don't know their challenges. Maybe their tools just aren't as sharp as mine. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. People are truly, and in their case, they're coming at their experience armed with the best capable way that they know how, using whatever tools they have at their disposal. And they might not have as many tools as I do yet. And someday they might have more. Or maybe, and this is something that I didn't consider early on, their mom raises them differently than I have. I didn't say better, I said different. They have different standards. Their mother expects a different level of expectations around how they show up, how they perform, etc. And there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make my way better or her way worse. It just makes it what it is. And maybe my children will perform better at some point, but who knows? The point of this is not the performance or the output per se, and that's a completely separate conversation. The point is our judgment that we place on the situation based upon our behaviors and our context and our learning and how we show up in the world. And that doesn't make us better. It makes us responding from our ego. And that's the point of this entire diatribe. The biggest shift for me came from my mentor, who has this uncanny superpower of calling out bullshit in real time, or at least my bullshit. And it's a very humbling and uncomfortable experience to be told that you suck at something. And nobody likes to be confronted with their own blind spots. It's crazy, right? But one day after she'd pointed something out that was strikingly true after reflection, I realized that I am reacting instead of understanding. And I really had to sit with that and ask myself a few questions. Why am I reacting so quickly? Why do I assume what I know is best? Why am I so certain that my way is the right way? And truthfully, if I'm transparent, the answer is because judgment is all about control. What can we control, right? It's a way of telling ourselves, I know better. I understand the world more than you do, fool. But when we actually sit and we shift into this idea of just observing, we can take our ego out of the equation. And that's a win-win scenario across the board. So instead of thinking maybe perhaps, hey, that person's really lazy, we could say, I wonder what's holding them back, and be curious about it. Or instead of saying how rude that person was, we could try to understand maybe there's something that was influencing their behavior earlier that day. Or you should clearly know better by now. Instead of looking at maybe they just haven't been taught differently and they have no muscle memory around it. And when you can remove this idea of assumption, you can create more understanding, and that's just a better place for everyone. So why does this matter? Why should this matter to you? And how is this maybe related to branding? You're like, dude, you're a branding coach. Why are you trying to feed me all of these esoteric ideas? Because whether you're building a personal brand or you're running a business or you're leading people, your ability to see things clearly without judgment, with just observation, really is a crucial aspect of determining your success or lack thereof. And I see this all the time with my clients because I've seen it in myself. They come to me saying my audience just doesn't get it, or people aren't engaging with my content, or no one's buying my services. And really, truthfully, 99% of the time, it's not the audience's fault. It might be your messaging. It might be your perspective. It might be your perception. And your brand isn't just about you. It's about how your audience experiences you. What do they say about you when you're not in the room? And if you're too caught up in the judgment of yourself or your audience or your customer or the results, and you're just missing the opportunity to actually connect. Your brand isn't just a business. It is a reflection of how you think, how you show up, and how people experience you. So how does this matter? How can you fix this? Here's the central takeaway for all of us. If you want to be a better leader, you need to start observing instead of just assuming. If you want to build a stronger brand, focus on clarity instead of control. If you want to create real impact, shift from reaction to understanding. And this is exactly what I teach now in my personal brand development process. We don't just talk about colors and logos. We're digging into how does your personal biases shape your messaging? How do you communicate with clarity instead of just assuming something? How do you build a brand that actually resonates instead of just looking good on paper? Because if you can't articulate your brand without judgment, without bias, without a level mindset, you don't actually know your brand. So, you want to do this with me? If this hits home for you, if you realize that you've been judging your audience, or if you've been judging your friends or your family or everyone in this that you show up in your experience, instead of just understanding them and observing them, it's time to make a shift.